Hey, what's up, Edmonton? It's your Edmonton Electrician here with another edition of your Edmonton Electrician. So this is where we bring customer service back to the trades. We do these videos as another way to serve you better, as another way to answer your questions and concerns without you having to call and have an awkward conversation with some electrician on the phone that you've never met. So we are an honest electrical contractor. We do professional service here in Edmonton and area. We service all areas of electrical except for industrial currently. So if you need a commercial electrical contractor or if you need a residential electrical contractor, get at us. Our number is 780-935-0622. Our email that you can reach us at is info@hauerpower.ca. That's HAUER power.ca. Again, in today's edition of Edmonton Electrician, we want to cover a certain topic that we've kind of had a lot of questions about. And to us, they're not really the best questions, but we've been asked them a lot. So people are wondering about them, and we want to address them. As always, if you guys have any questions, concerns, comments, if you have any electrical topics that you want to hear answers about, then give us a call, shoot us an email, get a hold of us somehow. There's so many different ways, and we want to hear about it. We want to help you guys out by answering your questions and concerns so that you can make an educated decision when hiring your next electrical contractor. And hopefully it's us, so that we can bring you the best power and customer service that you can possibly get. So again, in this issue of your Edmonton Electrician, we want to talk about cubicles and office wiring and moving your cubicles into different areas and moving fume hoods, just relocating offices. And it comes from our laboratory that we do a lot of work at, and they were moving around some fume hoods and some circuit issues that might come up, might bite you in the butt, and things that you need to know, or your electrical contractor should know, when moving circuits and relocating circuits and moving around different equipment, kind of thing like that. So we'll get into it here. Big thing to remember when you're having an office or you're wiring an office with cubicles and desks and computers is to remember that you're going to need both power and data outlets. So whether you're running Cat 5, Cat 6, that's going to be an issue. It's going to matter what you're pulling, not to an extreme extent, not as much as the size of wire for your power cables, but it will matter, especially if you want longevity and you want everything to work as it's rated for. So the biggest number one issue to remember is the gauge of your wire when you're adding, relocating, removing, moving around circuits in general. You need to know the gauge of your wire, how many outlets are on that breaker, and if there's anything that should be dedicated for your circuit. So what we're talking about there is this customer in particular, we had to move some fume hoods around for them. A fume hood is a laboratory piece of equipment where they do whatever work they need to do, whatever testing, whatever laboratory testing that they need to do on that piece of equipment, and it's going to have some duct work that's going to vacuum out any harmful chemicals or anything like that and filter them out through their HVAC system and then shoot those harmful chemicals out after it's been filtered and made clear, and that's all on their end. All we do is just run the power. So again, if you are adding some fume hood outlets, or maybe you're adding some GFCI outlets, or maybe you're adding some cubicles, some office desks, and you're going to need more power, make sure that you have the provision for it. It's pretty common sense in our field. As an Edmonton electrician, that is what we deal with. However, if you have 14 gauge wire going back to your panel, the last thing you're going to want to do is run 20 amp outlets on that 14 gauge wire. That's not okay. That's not up to code. And as per table 2 and 14.104 in the Canadian Electrical Code Book, what I'm talking about there is this bad boy right here. So you get your Canadian Electrical Code Part 1 2018 edition. That's what's in effect right now as of November 2019. That's going to tell you with Rule 14-104 that if I'm correct, get at me if I'm wrong, but that you cannot have a 20 amp outlet on a 14 amp rated circuit, and you cannot have a 20 amp outlet on a 15 amp rated breaker. So 14 gauge wire is good for 15 amps, 15 amp outlet. Everything's got to be rated 15 amps except for the exceptions that come from 14.104 and in section 12. So if you have capacitors, welders, transformers, generators, all that fun stuff, maybe that's a little bit different, but what we're talking about here is basic receptacles, basic power needs. Again, if you are having a commercial electrical need, If you find yourself as a facilities maintenance guy for a commercial facility, you're going to want to just make it a standard from day one to just run all 12 gauge wire to everything in your facility. It's a good practice, and it's going to save you in the long run, because a lot of facilities are going to have a lot of high draw equipment. Doesn't matter what it is, but if you're going to have a printer and a computer and maybe a scanner, maybe you're going to have a Lamicoid printer, maybe you're going to have, geez, not even specialty stuff, maybe a paper shredder. If you're going to have a whole bunch of that stuff and you're going to have it on one circuit, you're not going to want it on a 15 amp circuit, because it's just going to trip and it's going to cause your workers to be unproductive. Everyone's going to get annoyed and distracted. Nothing's going to get done. Run 12 gauge wire. Do yourself a favor. Have 20 amp circuits, 20 amp circuit breakers. Keep that as a constant. Keep that as a bare minimum for your facility. In rare circumstances, maybe deviate from that in the case of dedicated circuits for certain outlets, but you're going to make it a lot easier on yourself in the long run, especially with your commercial electrical maintenance. When a guy has to change or add a circuit or modify, if he can do the swap around and he doesn't have to change the home run up to 12 gauge back to the panel, that's going to make every job a lot easier, and at the end of the day, a lot cheaper, which is what you want. You want good quality electrical service, but you don't want to pay an arm and a leg and get robbed, and you want your business to still flourish and prosper. So again, we have competitive pricing, but at the end of the day, things take time. And if we have to spend more time upgrading your wire all the way back to your panel because the original electrician only ran 14 gauge wire, well, then we're kind of at a stalemate there. We can't do more work for less money. No one can. That's just how it works, guys. So you know that, we know that. We're just giving you the advice. Run 12 gauge wire if you're in a commercial facility. Run that as your bare minimum to anything going. If you're in a residential application and you need a residential electrical contractor, then 14 gauge is going to be a heck of a lot more efficient and economical, because running 12 gauge everywhere, it's a little bit thicker and it's going to be a little bit more costly. But at the end of the day, maybe if you're in a kitchen, run 12 gauge everywhere. Maybe that's a good practice there, because you got your biggest draw load in the whole home is in your kitchen. But other than that, 14 gauge is probably going to cut you, except for your dryers and your stoves and any additional designated equipment kind of thing, as per the Canadian Electrical Code, the 2018 edition. Result, give your electrical contractor a call if you have any questions or concerns about some sort of equipment that you need to add, relocate, run, redistribute. If you need new circuits for new fume hoods, new cubicles, if you need a wall moved, give your electrical contractor a call. Here at Hauer Power Electrical, we are your Edmonton electrician. We service Edmonton and area, and we would be happy to give you a free estimate for what work is required and what it's going to cost, what you're expecting it to cost you. So it's always a good practice to get 3 or more estimates from other contractors. Unless you're really in love with your electrical contractor, it's always good to see what's out there. So here at Hauer Power, we provide competitive rates, free estimates, and we always have deals going on for new customers, existing customers. That's part of our customer service experience. So get at us if you want a quality electrical contractor who's professional, certified, licensed, all that fun stuff. We're core certified if your facility requires that to get on your vendor list and let us be part of your team. But I digress. Getting back to it, on the data side of things, you can have category 5 rated wire for your data, or you can have category 6 rated wire for your data, and they're going to have to need a certain fire rating depending on what your system and your facility has in place. So typical, we run blue, plenum, Cat 6 data rated cable. So that's good for all your internet needs. That's just about really the best that you would need. We're not running NASA here. We're just running your printers, your computer. We're getting you whatever you need. We're going to match the megabytes per second. Obviously, that's your facility is putting out in regards to TELUS, Shaw, whatever they're doing that way. But Cat 6, that's the best you can get. Really, that's really the best that you'll need. Anything above that is extravagant and overkill. It's the same as if you ran anything above 12 gauge for your standard circuits. That would be extravagant and overkill. Another thing to remember too, when you're relocating cubicles, office units, when you're doing some commercial electrical repairs, is you want to make sure that wherever you're relocating your cubicle to, that wire, every junction part of it is going to be the same gauge and rated for the same amount. So you don't want to have a 14 gauge coming from your panel and then just splice some 12 gauge wire onto it and say, yeah, now it's good for 20 amps at 12 gauge wire. No, every system has a weakest link, and in that case, that 14 gauge, which is the smallest gauge of wire in your system there, going back to your panel, that's your weakest link. And if you have a 14 gauge going back to your panel and you have it landed on a 20 amp breaker, that's not okay. The wire's not rated for it. Wire's rated for certain current ratings because the temperature is going to reach a certain value that they're rated for. So if you do have the wire rated for an incorrect value and something were to go wrong in your facility, then the last electrician to perform that work is going to be held liable. And if there was no electrician that was performing that work, it was your facility's maintenance guy or anything like that, then that business is held liable, and insurance is not going to cover that if the right procedures were not followed. So give us a call, get ahead of the game. Edmonton Electrician, Hauer Power Electrical, that's us. 780-935-0622. If email works better for all your questions, comments, concerns, then info@hauerpower.ca. That's info@hauerpower.ca. As always, guys, we're happy to address any questions, concerns, comments for future videos, ideas. Give us a call, get at us. We're happy to hear from you. As your Edmonton electrician, it is our mission to provide you with exceptional power through outstanding customer service. So get at us, guys. Look forward to hearing from you, and we look forward to giving you power. All right, take care, Edmonton. Work safe, have fun. Bye-bye.